So Konami have released a new English League selection, so I'm going to take a look at these cards, give my thoughts, what builds I'd recommend, and what skills I'd put on too. Because usually these packs are a decent opportunity for free-to-play players to kind of get some little upgrades in their team in certain areas. And I've had a look at all these cards, and I think there is some potential in here. So without further ado, we'll start from the bottom. So first player is Marco Asensio. Now, Marco Asensio on this version is a deep line forward. You can see with the build here, we went for the 85 finish and ball control, tight possession, and luckily he does have his balance at 85, as well as acceleration over, and then his kick and power is at 87, which means with a boost, it's going to take it to 90. Now, none of these cards are booster cards, so you can't put any additional boosts on there. But stats-wise, I think this Marco Asensio actually looks really good, because he's got good finishing, but more importantly, he's got the high kick and power to complement it. Like, if that was 88 finishing with 80 kick and power, it's really not that ideal in game, but compared to complement the finishing is definitely good to see alongside the very high curl. So if we look at his skills, he has to start off outside curler, which is going to be good with that finishing and curl. He doesn't have a double touch, so you probably want to put that on. He does have true passing, but realistically, if you want to use this guy consistently, you're going to want to have first time shot on him at least. I'd say acrobatic finishing. I don't think his finishing is high enough. A cut behind and turn potentially. He has super sub, so you might not need fighting spirit. And he is a deep line forward, so he would be a playmaker, but I don't think his pass stats are high enough to warrant a weighted pass. So overall, I don't think he's like an unusable card, but I would say that he's not someone that really should be going into your team. Unless you're very new to the game, I wouldn't really be looking at this guy too much. But the next guy we want to look at is this Lewis Cook, man. This guy looks insanely good to me. So if you look at his stats there, this is before the boost, this is after the boost, and look, we still have 34 points left. And I think even now he actually looks pretty good. He's got very high balance, which I love on the orchestrators. I mean, I love it on every player pretty much. He's got good physical contact, so once that's 70, he will be kind of engaging in those physical animations more often than not. But yeah, 80s everywhere you want it, except for finishing, I guess. I like orchestrators to have some finishing, but we could easily get that up to 70 if we wanted. It's only 8 points invested, and then you still have more wiggle room to go with. So if we were just look at this build again, what stat would we want up to 85 next? Kick and power would be nice, but we've already invested 7 points there. So I think if we went dribbling to the 85s, like this card's looking like really good to me now, and we can even get that balance up to 87 to take it to 90, and we still have points left over. Maybe we should go into. I mean, you could go passing, try to get that passing up, but then if you want to get it to 85, which is if I were to invest in passing where I'd put it, you will have to take that finishing back down, like so. So I think you're going to have to choose between having the 70 finishing or the passing. But you can see there, he can play DMF. So if you want to use him as a DMF orchestrator, you definitely don't need any finishing on him. If you look at his skills now, unfortunately, he doesn't have the greatest skills. But he does start off with one touch pass, through pass, weighted pass, and low lofted pass. So skills I'd recommend on this Lewis Cook would be interception, track back, cut behind and turn. And then you could go soul control and flip flap for the ball roll. Or yeah, else you could just go like Marseille turn, maybe a long range shooting or a first time shot. And his weak foot usage, or sorry, accuracy is high, so he will be decent on that left foot, particularly if you go for the ball roll. I actually think that's a pretty surprisingly good card from Konami there, to be fair. We'll look at the keeper real quick, although there's not much I want to say about the keeper. This is the build I went for. I'm not going to talk too much because he's only 188 centimeters tall as well, so I think even if he had better stats, he's not as tall. Not that I think height is the most important thing for keepers. I think he can actually use like something like Sommer is pretty good in game, but he's kind of got mid stats and he doesn't have a lot of height to actually make him an interesting card. Next we'll look at Damsgaard. Damsgaard is a Roman flank, which is a rare enough playstyle. Being honest, I don't really have a preference for prolific winger or Roman flank. I think both work. I do think when a player is bad, you'd probably rather them be a prolific winger because they're gonna get in behind and out wide and exploit space, whereas Roman flanks might drift into the middle a bit more, so you want them to be a little bit better on the ball and kind of taking charge. But I don't think this guy looks bad at all, actually, if you just look at his card leveled up. So this is it with the boost. You can see 95 balance and 95 acceleration. He's going to be very good at burst and past the opponents. He's got 80 finishing, it's okay. 82 kick and power, again, what I said earlier, it's okay. He's not going to be a consistent finisher, but with the 77 curl, he might be able to hit close range finesse shots. It's a shame his tight possession is a bit low, but he's got good dribbling, so I think this guy will be fast on the wing, and he'll be good for the sharp touches with that balance and acceleration. He'll be good at bursting. You just go back to the skills for a sec. Double touch and soul control, so I would give him flip flap. You can also go for first time shot. You'll start with true pass and track back, to be fair. You might want to go fighting spirit / super sub if you try use them. And then Marseille turn if you're going to play him out wide. And probably outside curler if you're going to play him in that AMF position. Although if we look at his card again, I don't think he has the greatest passing for that. Although he does start with true passing again, so I guess it's not going to be too bad. And actually, because of this guy's acceleration, balance, and ball control, I think Scissors Feint might not be a terrible idea on him. Of course, cut behind in turn, which I kind of recommend on every player now at this point. I will be doing a video soon on why cut behind in turn is such an effective skill. Next player is Rutter. So this guy was actually, a few of these guys have been popular in FIFA. Well, actually that makes sense because FIFA do the cards that are based on real life, and these are all here because of their real life performances. But Rutter is actually pretty well liked in FIFA, but I don't think this Rutter card actually looks that good here. I think he's a master of trades, or sorry, jack of all trades, master of none. I got that wrong a little bit. Or maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on him. Maybe that just really low curl threw me off. Because to be fair, he does have high kick and power and middling finishing, but that kick and power will carry a little bit. Good balance too, good physical contact. But as a deep line forward, I do think curl and low pass are pretty important stats. That's a bit of a shame. If we just go to his skills, he kind of has a weird bunch as well. Like chop turn and heading are probably a little bit of a waste on him. But if you were to give him skills, I'd probably go double touch and flip flap, get that ball roll, and then probably acrobatic finishing and I guess long range shooting because he already has first time shot. Okay, so we're getting into the meat of the pack now. So first player we'll look at is Pedro Porro, and again this is him leveled up. I think he looks quite good. We did have to put 14 points into defending to get the 88 engagement. It is a big investment, but I do think it's worth it because he's pretty well rounded here. Like I think he's kind of a bulky-ish player as well in game. I think he's looks like a decent card. Actually, I don't want to spend too much time on him because he's a fullback. Like for instance, if you have that free Cafu that came out a few months ago, like Cafu would probably be a little bit better than him. But this guy isn't completely bad. If for the skills, you need to give him fighting spirit, blocker, pinpoint crossing, one touch pass, and probably track back. I'm putting track back on most of my fullbacks nowadays. I just uploaded it to round review. Or new Turam, I'll put track back on him as well in case you're interested. Next player is LaCroix. I think this guy looks really good because he's at first I thought he was just going to be pace, but when you actually look at his card, look when we put the booster on, he actually has really good jumping as well, and he's 190 centimeters. Like I think these stats look very good for a free to play centre back. 90 speed, 81 acceleration, 72 balance is pretty okay for a centre back too. Don't get me wrong. So for the skills, he doesn't have a full list, but he pretty much has all the important ones for defenders. He is missing fighting spirit though. I wouldn't really recommend usually slide tackle, but because he is missing, like most top tier defenders already have it by default, so probably go for slide tackle. I know I said I put track back on the fullbacks. I don't put it on the centre backs because basically track back just increases your AI defending, so their players more likely to get involved and press the ball. But centre backs are already in the position on the pitch where they will press the ball. Like it's a danger area that they'll automatically go in. You don't really need track back. But just to help him in his build-up play, I would probably go one touch pass, true pass, and low lofted pass for the long ones. You had to sacrifice one of them. I'd get rid of a low lofted pass because this lofted pass stat isn't the greatest. But he looks pretty good to me, and then you could actually form a pretty decent partnership with this guy beside him, Konate. We've had versions of Konate before, and I think this guy is usually considered one of the best centre backs in the game. If we look at his heights there, 194. You see how he's 194 when LaCroix was 190? Like, yeah, it's a bit of an advantage there for Konate, but when we look at the stats, Konate only has 73 jump. So the jump height on Konate is 270 on this, whereas on LaCroix, look, it's 277. And I've used Konate before, like I know how good he is in the air. So that's why when I looked at that LaCroix, I first thought, okay, he'll be a little decent pass centre back, but now this guy looks very dominant in my eyes. But yeah, Konate, definitely a good player as well. If you just look at the skills, he has weighted pass to start with, and he has a little bit better passing stats as well compared to LaCroix. So for the skills I'd put on him, he does need blocker. I'd probably put one touch pass, true pass, and low lofted pass again, and fighting spirit as well. But once you put those skills on, like this Konate, very well rounded in the skill department at least, and would be a consistent performer in centre back. Okay, so the final three players, look at Pedro Neto first. And look, as a prolific winger, I think this Neto has pretty much got everything where you want them to be. He's very fast, great balance, good kick and power. He has got the 70 physical contact, and he's pretty good at dribbling too. That passing stats, I wouldn't really worry about as a prolific winger. Prolific wingers are staying wide and want to get him behind. So when you have this guy, You're either going to be driving down the byline for a little cutback or a chip pass, or you're going to cut inside and shoot. He does have the kicking power for it. Now, he is left footed, so you probably ideally play him on the right. And to start off, his skills aren't great, but it can be fixed with some easy adjustments. So I'd give him double touch definitely. He's got flip flap and soul control. Then I'd give him first time shot. Then if we just look at his stats again, there's a bit of a debate. Do you want to go for long range shooting or acrobatic finishing or both? You probably could go for both because I've found recently 95 balance anyway. My type of players with 95 balance, I don't really need acrobatic finishing on them. But I haven't like properly played enough games with a player like 92 balance to know if I also think they don't need acrobatic finishing. So just to be safe, I probably would put it on them. Although this might be a good idea for people to kind of test, like, all right, do you need acrobatic finishing on 92 balance? Because I would have put it on every single player a couple months ago, but since that MSN pack came out, I didn't put acrobatic finishing on Messi or Neymar just because I didn't have the skill yet, and I thought they performed fine. And then for the other skills, sorry, I don't know if I mentioned it, pinpoint crossing maybe, but also true passing. Like I recommend that on every player, true passing if they don't start with it. But to be fair, if there is a position that doesn't need it, it might be prolific wingers just because of like when they get the ball, they're usually in space, so the passes they have to make are pretty easy and wide open. You don't actually need the skill as often. Oh, and also another thing to note, Rabona, he's got Rabona, so he'll be able to do them really quick fake shots on the wing. So if you want to do a Rabona fake shot, you should just run and press square and shoot and then pass. But yeah, he looks pretty good to me. Then Tonali is an anchorman. I think it's probably the most important playstyle on the game. It's pretty much the only playstyle at the MF. It's the only playstyle I actually think I look at and have to have in my teams. Any other playstyle in any other position, I can get away with chopping and changing, but anchorman's like a mainstay in my side. And Gilberto Silva has so many games played for me, I never want to replace him. But if we just look, oh, I actually didn't make his build, so we'll just make it live here. I'll show you the process and how I kind of think about it. So let me just reset it all. So 80 pass at the start, I think we're happy with. We'll try to get that ball control to 80 for first. Because he's an anchor man, we do want good defensive stats, so we'll go 85 at least on all the defending. We'll get that speed to 80 first. And that balance already at 80. Okay, that's good. You're gonna have to put plus twos on. Yeah, this guy does look like he could be something serious. Let me just get the pass to 85. We might come back and take that down again. This guy is reminding me of Gilberto Silva though already. I'll tell you that much. We'll get that balance. We want it to 85. I think it's like I don't really care about the 85 balance now. I'm trying to get that acceleration to 80. 8 points, okay, and then lower body. We make that a bit more. Yeah, I don't think your DMF needs to be good in the air. Yeah, I think stats wise that looks very good. Let me just pull up my Gilberto Silva and compare these stats. Alright, so this is what my Gilberto Silva looks like. So Tonali, you can see straight away, has better dribbling and passing. Not that the passing matters too much. The dribbling is pretty important on an anchorman because you're getting pressed high the pitch. But the passes he'll make are pretty simple. I've got how many games played with him? 1,200, and I've scored 2 goals. So yeah, the shooting just isn't important. You do not need to level the shooting on an anchorman, self-evidently. It's not like I'm trying to score Gilberto and he keeps missing. I just never get into shooting opportunities with him. But if we look at his defensive stats, sorry, I don't know if I was showing that on screen that he's only scored 2 goals. But yeah, if we look at Tonali's defensive stats, or sorry, Gilberto's, there's 2 stats there that are very high that might make me think is the reason why he's so good. He's always in position. Anytime my opponent tries to pass out, Gilberto's there to intercept. So it's either the awareness or the engagement. And we look at Tonali, his awareness isn't that high and his engagement is high enough. So if we were to try Tonali and then I felt he was always in the right position too, it would help us realize, all right, it's defensive engagement, meaning he's always in the right position to stop the counter attacks. If Tonali isn't very dominant, then it would be the other stat. Let me just pull up the new Shumeni that came out because he's very good. But how do you spell his name? Shua? He is very, very good, but he didn't have as good position, I thought, as Roberto Silva. Okay, the problem with learning from this is these stats are kind of similar again. So we don't like it's not like he has very high engagement and low awareness, so it'd help us teach. Like this guy's very good, but his positioning wasn't as good as Roberto Silva. He was making up for it for his really long legs though. But yeah, I'm looking at this tally. I'm wondering if it's the engagement that's making my Gilberto so good. But anyway, looks like a very good card. All said and done. One skill you have to put on this guy is track back. So I used to have that Gilberto and didn't think he was actually that great. I thought he was a bit underwhelming. Then I kind of randomly threw track back on him and he became so good and so amazing. And that's why I recommend track back at a lot of players now. because I learned from that, and then I put it on Mateus as well, I think, after, and he became such a good player as well. Like, I've kind of learned from that experience. So definitely put track back on him. He doesn't have true passing, so he should get that. He has double touch and soul control, so I'd probably give him that flip flop. Then I'd give him cut behind and turn slash gamesmanship, or fighting spirit slash gamesmanship. I think you make a decision there. There might be people wondering why I don't go for blocker. I don't think blocker is as important on your DMF as your centre backs. Like, centre backs have to have it. I think, honestly, I think any other position you can get away without it. You just put the player in front to block. Whereas the centre backs needed by default because you might not have time to switch in and manually block the shot. But yeah, Tonali's looking very good. Like, if I didn't have Tchouaméni, like, this card would probably make me want to use my coins on the free-to-play account. Okay, so last player is Kevin De Bruyne. Now, I have got two builds for this guy, and this is the first one you can see. We've put 12 points into dexterity to get that 85 balance. Other than that, he looks pretty well rounded though. He's got the 88 pass stats. He has hit 80 finishing, again, with 90 kicking power, so it's looking good there. 89 curls, so he'd be able to hit the finesse shots well. And good dribbling stats too. So for the second build, you probably would say I'm going to take dexterity off. I'm actually going to put it on. And this build is to get the +3 boost on the balance. Now, if I was to use this build, it probably would remain unchanged from here, and you're just keeping shooting off. So he's a pure playmaker here. He's not going to shoot as much. You're going to use him purely for assists. Now, he will still be able to score some decent goals with that kicking power. But you never see De Bruyne used in this game, and I think it's because he's a bit clunky and he doesn't have the greatest passing. So ultimately, I do think the 12 dexterity build is better. It's more well rounded, but just in case you want them to be a bit more mobile, that's the build I would go for. And then for the skills, I would give him double touch and flip flap because he already has soul control, and more importantly, he has the very high weak foot, so he'll be able to do that double touch shot onto both feet. And then I would give him long range curler, gamesmanship, and the fighting spirit or super sub. Now, there will be people saying, "Oh, but I have a whole player De Bruyne. Like, why is the whole player better? Shouldn't I use that?" I remember people getting excited about that whole player De Bruyne, and I said, you shouldn't get excited. He's not going to be good because he's too clunky and slow. Creative playmaker definitely suits him more. And if you're one of those people who was excited about a whole player De Bruyne, I wonder how many people are actually still using him. I play against him anyway. But overall thoughts of the pack, I think there's some very good players here, particularly LaCroix and Tonali. And then I think this Lewis Cook is a very interesting orchestrator too. Am I going to go for it myself? Well, definitely not on the main account. On the free-to-play account, I probably would have went for it if I didn't have that Tchouaméni from the match pass. These centre backs are very good, particularly LaCroix. I'd say my centre backs are already decent. Is that match pass Tchouaméni the current match pass? I wonder, or is it the last one? Just double check. Okay, it was the last match pass. So yeah, if you missed out on that Tchouaméni, I think this Premier League pack is actually a decent purchase. All right, bye.